Welcome along to another instalment of Landlord Debt Advisory Week, coming to you from the Belfast offices of the company of the same name, Landlord Debt Advisory, part of the Fairfield Capital Group. I'm here with co-founder Tom Cardwell, who is also a landlord. And I think, Tom, as we said right at the beginning of the week, you wearing your landlord hat, it's really added another dimension to the advice that you're able to give to landlords, because you're a landlord yourself. You understand the pressures they face, you understand the emotion around running a portfolio. People work hard to build them, they fear losing them. I think it adds so much to your proposition that you're a landlord yourself.
There's so many challenges facing landlords, and I think it's important to, obviously we have to look at the big picture. There are many cases when it comes to portfolios that just don't work and won't work, and that's just unfortunately the nature of how things are. But most of the time it's not just as black and white as that, as we know. We all have bought bad properties, we've all bought good properties, we've all bought properties that were somewhere in the middle. And I think it's important to have a really good understanding of the challenges that are facing landlords, but to look at it from an empathetic position, as you've said. People, most of the clients that we would speak to, landlords, they're not institutional size landlords. They're people who are trying to build some income for their retirement. They're maybe trying to prop up a pension that wasn't particularly strong in itself. They're maybe trying to make up for a little bit of lost time because they've potentially been out of work, bringing up their family, or through illness or one thing or another. So I think the landlord gets a pretty bad press. And my experience is the vast majority of the landlords that we deal with look after their tenants incredibly well.
Indeed. Well, for this video, we actually just wanted to touch on another aspect of your service, and that is you can also assist with debt issues with overseas banks as well. And clearly, in the last, 10 to 15 years, there's been a huge sort of trend of people buying properties overseas. You don't want to hold all your eggs in one basket is a very common kind of theme in property, and some people have seen that there may be opportunity in places like Eastern Europe and places like that. Of course, when you buy overseas, the risks are massively amplified because you don't know the legal system as well. It may be very different to the UK. It's a long way away. You're trusting third parties to deal with the property for you. So you do also deal with these issues. And I think for a UK-based landlord with property overseas, if that goes wrong, I think there's this terrible fear that the overseas bank will come after their UK assets. What's your experience of that?
Yeah, there can be certainly this feeling of helplessness, and I suppose the physical distance as well as the difference in the legal systems that you've highlighted.
And maybe the language.
Absolutely, accentuate the problem. In our experience, we've represented clients UK landlords with Bulgarian properties, USA, Spain, Portugal, France, Cyprus. Those are the ones I can think of at the minute. And in none of those instances have the foreign bank actually recovered debt from their UK assets. Now, the flip side of that coin doesn't mean that they won't necessarily threaten to. But from our point of view, and certainly looking at it dispassionately, that's a negotiating point. Very difficult if you're the landlord and you're receiving a frightening letter. You're not thinking of it as a negotiating point, you're thinking of it as heavy-handed recovery action. But in our experience, all of those lenders that we've dealt with have been open to some sort of reasonable accommodation.
And I think it's really important, again, that landlords get advice in this area, because, they may have to make decisions that affect the UK portfolio as well.
Yeah, that's right. I'm thinking of one particular case, a Spanish property. I think the negative equity position was about €150,000.
Ouch.
Now, the property was being used partially for personal use and was partially let. Actually servicing the debt was affordable, so that was okay. The client didn't really want to sell the property or do anything with it right at that point, but we were able to give them quite a few pointers in terms of how they would protect themselves in the UK, just in case that goes off the rails at a later date. In reality, repaying that full debt over a longer period of time might become tricky, particularly when interest rates might rise. So sometimes you can take preventative measures without actually having to take the next step.
I get you. And I think it's so valuable to know that you offer this service for overseas property debt problems as well, Tom, because I'm certainly aware of a whole raft of what I would call ambulance chaser type solicitors will contact people with properties overseas and say that they have the solution and they can do this and they can do that. And a lot of them have turned out to be scams, and people have got into even worse situations. They've paid money to a company who say that they can help them, and then that company's disappeared or cut off contact with them. So again, when you're in a debt sort of crisis situation, you know, it's really hard to think straight. It's really hard to make good decisions. You know, you can make very poor decisions if you're in a highly stressed state. And again, you're based in the UK, you've got offices in Belfast and Manchester, people can come and see you. I think that gives a lot of confidence to work with you if they experience this kind of problem.
Our core business is actually, you know, negotiating with a lender or with a creditor. So as long as our client is a UK resident, we can negotiate with them in any debt anywhere internationally, because obviously they're protected by UK law, and obviously we're authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority here in the UK.
Well, that's very, very good to know. So if you do have a debt problem with an overseas property, that is something that Landlord Debt Advisory can assist with. And we do invite you to get in touch. I know from clients that I've referred to Tom personally, you're very happy to have just an initial consultation with a potential client, and you'll be upfront whether you think you can help them or not.
That's it. You know, over the course of a typical month, we might receive 250 to 300 inquiries of all different types. Many of those people we are able to assist, but plenty of them, it simply isn't a fit for our services. We're more than happy to signpost them to someone else that can assist them. Sometimes we'll have inquiries, even one of the first conversations we'll have with the client is just to ensure that our services are affordable. We'll be very upfront in terms of what the cost would be, what stages they become payable, and if we believe that someone can't afford to do that, or if there's a better place for them to seek advice, we'll obviously direct them that way.
Yeah, fantastic. And again, the message throughout the week is to take action if you do get into financial difficulty, because if your property is abroad, the laws may be different. You could get you can get a judgment against you in their legal system. These are all things that you really do want to avoid.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like we sort of touched on earlier on, the fear of this sort of heavy-handed recovery action coming home to roost, so to speak, can seem very real. And I think one of the things that clients or potential clients would get in terms of reassurance from us is that if they mention their bank, whether they're in Spain or whether they're UK based or Cyprus or anywhere else, you know, the strong chance that we've dealt with them before, and we've got the track record there to say, well, actually, based on your circumstances, this is how things can go. And often the solution that's available to the client is an awful lot less frightening than how it might appear at that time.
Indeed. Well, Tom, I say in the nicest possible way, I hope that I never have to use your services, but I am so glad that you are out there and that you're there to support the PT community, and that you've got an FCA regulated service to assist landlords in this manner, because I know that there are people out there that are in difficulty, they're stressed, they're hurting, they don't know who to turn to, and I'm really, really grateful that you're part of the Property Tribe's ecosystem that, you know, offers legitimate products and services to landlords, and that I know that you do such good work, and it's all there on your website. People can go and look at the kind of cases that you've dealt with and how you assisted.
That's right. We have a review section where independently verified reviews from clients that we've actually assisted through to completion. We have real life examples of case studies that we've completed with a cross section of lenders. We've redacted any client information. We have a lot more information like that on site at our office. We're more than happy to share that. And then we also have a network of introducers such as accountants, solicitors, financial advisors, estate agents and letting agents, who've obviously, some of them we've been dealing with for quite a number of years, who obviously have referred us clients and continue to do so. So we get a lot of introductions through those channels too.
Of course. Well, we'll put the contact details for Landlord Debt Advisory underneath the video. Tom is a member of Property Tribe, so if you've got any debt questions, you're very welcome to post them onto the category that Landlord Debt Advisory power, and Tom will be happy to answer them. So we'll continue with our Landlord Debt Advisory week, and do check out the other videos because we've covered a lot of ground this week and there's a lot of useful information to assist you if this issue affects you personally. So there is help out there, and check out the videos for further information.